Hello, good people, and welcome back to Unit 4 on credit and debt. In our previous, creepy little baby, in our previous videos, we have talked about intro to credit, and we have talked about credit cards, all about those. And I briefly mentioned a few times your credit score. And now we're going to dig into what that means. So we discussed at the very beginning of the unit credit worthiness and whether or not you were considered to be risky and whether or not you could manage your debt. Well, and we'll discuss kind of how that works in detail. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so what in the world are they? What are these random, weird, mysterious credit scores? They are essentially just one number. Your particular credit score is a three-digit number, anywhere from 300 to 850, that determines a person's credit worthiness. All right, and this is based on your credit history, so you and your payments in the past. Have they been on time? Have you paid more than you were supposed to? Please ignore my dog. She is currently snoring. That's how she snores. I promise. Okay. Um, and the ability to manage and pay back debt. All right. So, all of this in turn turns into a number that you have to get. All right, they're also called FICO scores. This is not the same thing as FICA, F-I-C-A. All right, now in our taxes unit, we talked about what FICA is, and that is payroll taxes. That is FICA, the Federal Insurance Contributions Act. This is different. Okay, FICO scores stands for Fair Isaac and Company. Don't ask me why they named the man's name. I don't know. All right, but this was started in 1989 to kind of give you like an average score, and we'll get into that in a second. I'll put that in a box. All right, so how are they measured? How do we know what this three-digit number is? Well, it is split into 5 categories. And if we were to think like these are 5 categories, let's say that this was a class, all right? If your credit was a class in Power School, these would be your 5 categories for grades, all right? So the highest ranking category here is payment history. Or is your stuff late? Is it on time? Are you paying more than you're supposed to? Are you only squeaking by with the minimum amount? Did you miss a payment? Lord forbid you miss a payment or be late. All right. 30% of your score is based on the amounts that are owed. Do you owe a whole bunch of it? Okay. Do you owe $50,000 on your house? Do you owe $20,000 on your car? And how much have you paid in comparison to how much you owe? Have you only paid in $1,000 and you have 20 grand that you still have left? 15% of it is the length of credit history. So how many years have you been paying this back? How many months have you been paying this back? If you are 18 and you are fresh out of high school and you just got your first credit card, this little 15% score is going to be low for you, not because you're bad at paying back debt, but because you haven't been able to have enough time to prove it yet, and that's not your fault, okay? So people will be understanding if you have a lower credit score if you're younger, all right? 10% of it is a credit mix. Can you manage multiple types of debt? Can you pay back a student loan, a car loan, a loan on a house, a small business loan? What else? And that's all. That's about all I got. So, can you handle multiple types of debt at the same time? The last 10% is new credit. Okay, we'll get into that in a second. All right. We've just kind of gone over this. The 5 major factors that determine the number, again, is payment history, 35%. The second category that we talked about, your credit limit, is also known as credit utilization. All right, so how much in your line of credit is available versus spent. All right, if you utilize not a whole lot of credit, that can help you. All right, if you utilize only 25 to 50% of what you are able to use or could potentially use, that shows people who are lenders that you are doing a great job, okay, and that you can manage your debt wisely so that you're not $17,000 in debt. All right, number 3 is your length of credit history. Again, that's not going to be held against you if you're youngin'. You can't help that. Your credit mix, and then your new credit. So this last one is your recent inquiries or applications. So what is an inquiry on your credit? This is anytime a potential lender, remember that's somebody who's going to give you some cash, checks your credit, either just a little brief glance or a full-on like we're going to clean sweep and see what you are about. Okay, this is also known as running your credit. So if someone runs your credit, like if you're going to buy a car and they're like, yeah, well, we'll sell you a car. We'll see how much your monthly payment will be. They're going to go to the finance department and they're going to run your credit. All right, so this is considered what's to be called a soft check. You can either have a soft check or a hard check. A soft check is just a glance to see how risky you might be. People who are trying to rent you an apartment or try to give you a job, they're going to run a soft check on your credit, typically speaking. Like if you're working part time and you're like 16, you probably don't have any credit to worry about, so they most likely will not run your credit then. But if you are like an adult and you are trying to get like a salaried job, you are most likely going to have a soft check on your credit. A hard check is if you like have sat down to like for real buy the car, they're going to do a hard check. If you're buying a house, if you're going to ask the bank to stick their neck out for you for $150,000 to buy this dang house that you think is the cutest thing ever, that's great, except they need to know whether or not you're good for it, like for real, because that's a lot of money for them to give to you just because. All right, now, is there anything else that can impact this? Yes. All right, derogatory info or negative things is literally anything that can bring your score down. If you pay a late bill, like utilities, your water, your electricity, whatever, your internet, that cannot bring it up. Late utility bills, like besides your actual credit, bills cannot bring it up, but they can bring it down. All right. Foreclosures, if you're like, yeah, I'm going to buy this house, and then eventually you're like, oh shoot, I can't afford this house, and you stop making payments, that's called foreclosure. The bank will snatch your house from you, and you will be in house jail for 7 years, and you won't be able to buy a new one for 7 years. If you get evicted from your apartment because you don't pay your rent, that's another issue. If you have bills that are sent to collections because you let them be late for 3 months, and they're trying to track you down to do that. All right. Don't bring me down. Do things to build your credit up instead of that. What are some things that are not included in this credit score? Your age, your race, your gender, national origin, marital status, religion, employment information, savings or income, where you reside, child support, alimony. This type of stuff is not going to be included in your credit score. Again, the credit score is for real, just you being able to manage debt. All right, so what does your score actually mean? It gets recorded in this thing called a credit report, all right? And you are legally entitled to a free report each year from the three major credit bureaus. This bureau word, it just means like, we'll just say it's a company, all right, who gives scores without it hurting you. Because every time you check what your credit score is, it brings you down 5 to 10 points, okay? So let's say you're going to go get a car and you go to 3 different dealerships to see who's going to give you the best deal, and all 3 of them run your credit 5, 10, 15 points. Go ahead and kiss them goodbye, okay, off your credit score, because all 3 of them ran your credit. It's going to take you like a month or so to get it back. All right, so there are 5 major categories. There are 5 categories of what impacts your credit, and there's 5 major categories based on the numbers on like a rating scale for you. All right, now here's the thing. These 3 major credit bureaus all have different ranges, but this is an average, all right? This is horrible credit. This is very bad. 300 to 559, there's a strong chance that you have had a bankruptcy. Like you're like, I can't pay not nearly a bit of my money. And people are like, you need to get your life together. You're going to be denied pretty much every loan you apply for. If you get a credit card, you're going to have to show them in cash. You're going to have to back it up in cash. And they're going to have you at a very high interest rate. Bad credit is the next up until 649. You're probably pretty inconsistent. You have a really short history. That doesn't mean that you are a bad person. It just means that you're not good at handling debt, or you haven't had a chance to prove that you have had that you can handle debt. You're probably going to have a high APR if you're approved for any sort of loan or credit card. Fair credit is up until 699. You probably get approved. Maybe a couple issues here and there. Not too bad. Decent APR. Good credit is up until 749. You'll get approved. Few issues. Decent APR and excellent. Like they know you're good for it. You've been paying for a long time. No issues. Yada yada. Low APR. You want to pay the least amount of interest possible because you can't get it back. So low APR is definitely a good thing. Your goal as a person, as a human, is to be at 720 or higher every day of your life, if at all possible. Okay? Try to stay 720 and above to get yourself where you need to be. Who gives you one? Well, these 3 major credit reporting bureaus: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Okay? How do they calculate it? No one really knows, all right? It's a mystery. I'm so serious, it's an actual mystery. They analyze your credit history going back a couple years and they use a formula to calculate it, but they don't tell not nary a person what it is. If anybody works for those three credit union or those three credit bureaus, they are not allowed to tell the public what it is. They are sworn, literally, legally sworn to secrecy, and if they spill the beans, they can get sued. All right, so their scores are usually similar, but they're not exactly the same. They all three have slightly different algorithms that they use to calculate. But the lenders are going to look at the middle score. They're going to look at the median score. Yeah, trying to find that algorithm because we don't know what it is. All right, so how does it impact me? This is your financial reputation. Okay, so this is interest rates on your loans. All right. This could impact your employment or promotion in your profession. This could impact you leasing an apartment, getting a mortgage, or a car loan. All right. Low credit is going to mean denial for all of this. You get passed over as a tenant. You might not get a job because of that, and you might not get a promotion. Okay. It takes a long time to build up your financial reputation. It only takes a second to bring it down. So you got to make sure you protect it. All right, so how can you build it? Know what your score is. Get that free credit report. Do not use Credit Karma. All right, it is going to lie to you. It could be up to 100 points off, one way or the other. Don't use that. Go online and into the link that I provide and do so. All right, figure out what's bringing it down. Every single credit bureau is going to tell you why they gave you the score that they did. Take that into account. Fix it. All right, make your payments on time. Right, avoid maxing out your cards. Don't cancel them. It brings your score down. Check for any issues to see if there's any fraud happening. Right, and that's how we build credit. And that has been Credit Scores.